Duke's default name was always like Country 153. So we are actually seeing Undyne coming in with this one, who did play Nyx earlier, of course, and then Bunny, who of course was on the Rayman as well. So no legend swaps so far from these teams, at least on the characters that we have on our screen.
Yeah, it makes sense, you know, because it's not like twos where you have to play around a different meta. It really is just ones at the end of the day, if you really reduce it down. So Bunny on the Rayman makes sense to me, acts very, very strong. And Bunny has been really dominant on the Rayman so far. Of course, versus the Scythe, though, so far, playing very, very passively here on Apocalypse, holding that center stage. You want to create some momentum for your team, but you also don't want to lose stocks really early and put your team unnecessarily behind, but Undyne doing quite the opposite as they're able to get the Gravity Cancel side sig on Nyx. And that's going to close out the first stock for Red Team.
And that's just 50 damage onto Undyne right now. Not a big deal whatsoever. Nyx, of course, a very high defense legend with a lot of high strength as well. So can take a lot of punishment. But we have a Nash. We don't see Nash very often, and I don't fully know why we don't see Nash. Very high movement speed makes playing that legend feel really good. Some solid signatures that have movement in them, but also like a few of them that like have a backup, like the spear down signature will like back you up before you slam that spear down right in front of you. So despite being one of the very first legends in the entire game, has like relatively current meta and current like design choice modern signatures. So I would like to see more Nash played in general. I'm glad that we're seeing some right now.
Yeah, and like you said, like a lot of the really great sigs in this game will be able to cover right below the ledge, and that's exactly what that side stick does. It has a deceptive range, and when you play a legend that doesn't quite find a lot of tournament play, you get those those kind of freebies where your opponent's not quite ready for it. And see Faith here holding on to this stock relatively well here. It's even stocks once again, but the damage slowly building, and the blue team able to capitalize on that edge guard. Faith able to close it out with the recovery, and still, hey, you wanted some Nash. I think we're going to be getting a lot more of Faith because they don't look to be losing their stock here.
Yeah, Faith's been doing a great job so far. We do have to worry about like the D-Light Insig coming out from Clips over here. Just playing very passive so far, trying to create a lot of space between those two before going in. The down air completely disengaging, not attempting to go for the edge guard off stage. Of course, looking for the D-Light, probably the neutral air follow-up, or might just grab the in-light over on the edge. Clips doesn't, it seems like he doesn't know what to do here.
Yeah, and just really, it's just waiting for Faith to make that mistake, and we see that slight overextension on that recovery gets punished. Able to dodge through the neutral light into the recovery, can't quite find a conversion to KO, and sometimes the problem is with the Qatar that you struggle to close out stocks, which is important, especially when you're coming in and your job is to close out that stock. Switching over to the Cannon, which has very, very consistent KO threats here.
It seems like Clips knows what they're supposed to do. Like, they understand the flowchart, but they don't really know how to like press advantage state or really find advantage state in the first place. It seems like they're just attacking and hoping that Faith is going to be in that area at any given time, and that hasn't been the case so far. We're seeing the damage being added up now, over 100 onto Clips, and I think he's maybe found like 1 or 2 hits on the Faith.
Yeah, it's really just been like that neutral light that led to nothing, and finally a side air is able to close out that stock because, I mean, Faith was at such high damage in the dark red, and Cronus coming in here with the axe, once again, a very axe-heavy team, of course, so, you know, as a red team, you got to prepare for that, whoever's coming in after Clips, but Clips playing the very defensive game as well. I don't know if it's a condition of Cruz and wanting to, like, not throw a lead or not, you know, make the deficit worse for your team, but players are really, really loving to hold on to that wall. And the blue team there, as soon as red team was forced to get back on stage, able to cover with the neutral sig there on the Ragnir.
Yeah, Cronus did a great job. Of course, you're playing Ragnir. A major part of that tool is Axe neutral signature, and he saw how in the air Clips was, and so that neutral signature kind of grabbing at that 45-degree angle and spraying that flame across. Oh, just barely missing that ground pound. These two players are actually going at it here. The extended edge guard situation. There's the neutral signature trying to slide charge the neutral signature all the way down. Didn't make a connection, but Undyne was out of there.
So scary, those extended edge guards, especially versus the Qatar and Ragnir. You have to be so careful of all of these gravity cancel sigs and just, you know, and really all the tricks that Qatars can bring in, and Undyne on the blasters looks to create some space between the two, and it works out for them as they're trying to even up the stock count for their team, but they are taking a lot of damage. Cronus already forcing Undyne into the red as the side air comes through on the Axe. Nyx having high defense is going to survive the side air, but the ground pound on Unarmed covers the wall. If you're going to hug the wall, it's so easy to just find those little stocks where your opponent's just not ready for you to make that really big haymaker call out, especially with that ground pound unarmed. And it works out big for the blue team. Cronus with a big lead here.
I definitely feel like we're looking at two different calibers of teams. It seems like blue team, all of the matchups that we've seen so far, they've seemed much more confident in the way that they're playing, but also like obviously they're ahead at this point. Cronus is doing a great job here, continuing to add that up. Gets the ground pound with the clash. Not going to be the finishing move, but instantly picking up guitars, going with the side signature as well as kind of across the signatures between these two players. Nom hoping with all of this strength, still somehow didn't take away that stock directly. Had to wait for a second for Cronus to burn all of those in-air movement options. Couldn't quite get back over to the wall. Now Bunny going to be definitely the most successful of all of these players in terms of like pro player mentality, even catching that weapon toss there. Some swagger coming out from Bunny early on in this game.
Yeah, this is the, you know, as the first player to play, you're in that middle position, and no better player than Bunny for the blue team, looking to just close out that stock and potentially the set here as that side air comes through. It's all up to Clips to try to make a very daunting 1 stock to 3 comeback for their team. It's the anchor position for a reason sometimes, and you're hoping for the red team to, even if you're not maybe winning the game, getting some information and maybe even wearing out the patience of the blue team, who has been really, really patient so far. But as I say that, it all goes wrong. The edge guard gets flipped, and Bunny closes out the first game here. Yeah, Kaya's in a great spot, and no matter how much they change about the SIGs, the frame data, nerfing or buffing, and either way, Kaya seems to always find tournament play. It's one of the legends that I particularly have issues with when I play the game, but it's always cool to see people's takes on the bow. We've been seeing actually Zariel and Deviljin.
Oh, that's true.
Well,
I don't know why I just
Boy.
Completely ignored Zariel.
Yeah.
I was thinking more in 1v1s, which is why Zariel didn't pop into my head. But even so, yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah, I just was thinking about it. I was like, there's a weird looking character. Oh, it's Deviljin. Yeah, that's the only one I could think of. So yeah, I mean, you know, it's cool to see Bo nonetheless, very dominant, horizontal, grounded threat, having some pretty particular and weird hitboxes. So it'll be cool to see how that kind of comes into play here on the crew battle. But so far, Undyne on the Scythe, you know, keeping the Scythe between the legend swap, so it makes sense to me. And gets the tap and no, misses it. Goes for a big extension with the chase dodge.
Yeah, you don't need a chase dodge after that, and that must have been a misinput. That's like several inputs that have to come out very quickly to get the gravity cancel, the D-light, the jump, and then reposition for the ground pound. Yeah. So might have been a fat finger or something that happened there. Definitely a misinput, but Undyne still has done a great job. Has a massive damage lead here. Even if that dare hit, or didn't need to hit, but even if that dare hit, that was going to be curtains for Bunny on this one. So yeah, Undyne with a great swap over to Jiro, then instantly running to the other side of the stage. Not really playing an in-your-face Scythe. It's like 1 or 2 hits here and there, almost playing it kind of like Hammer, or like old school Hammer, where you would just like stomp side air, reset, stomp neutral air, reset, here's a dare, stomp side air, reset.
Yeah. It's so interesting, right? Because a lot of these string weapons, they definitely have that mode where they just play for the 1-2s. And I think Scythe particularly good at that comparatively to the other string weapons. And I think has just so much range that you can play around that game of just, I'm going to wait with Punish. You see that there. And Faith doing that. But on the Hammer, as you were talking about, the stomp side air is going to send Undyne off stage and kind of feinting they were going to go underneath the platform, but didn't. And nice catch with the Nair on the Hammer. And blue team evening up the stock count here, as the Nash you were talking about on Faith has been paying off so far. Nash, or Faith piloting the Nash, has done a lot in this crew battle. I mean, even just so far, closing out the stocks and even extending leads. So it's always cool to see them here do just that.
Yeah, we mentioned the high speed on Nash a little bit earlier, and when we just saw Undyne attempt to go under the stage, even if he fully committed and actually went under the stage, Faith was going to be able to get all the way over to the left side and probably have a good chance to confirm an edge guard or at least start the edge guard. So it's not like that would have been a free escape plan. Maybe if Faith was not playing a high-speed legend, we might have seen Undyne go for it, but going under the stage against a high-speed legend is tough because they'll just meet you right there.
Yeah, it's a good mix-up versus a lot of the sets, as you were saying, slower, but sometimes not the play. And the bow finding the down air is going to send the Nash too far to recover. So Clips here looking pretty solid on the Diana so far. haven't seen Diana in quite a while, so it's always a treat to see. You see that Sig there is going to be great at reversing those ledge trap situations. Cronus with a big half pipe gets the recovery, not quite enough to KO. The neutral Sig slide off again to cover that big 45 as you were talking about. As Clips is in a bad spot and goes for the slide off down Sig this time, doesn't find it, and an end Sig comes through. Just Sigs all over the place from both of these players, hoping to find that one lucky connection. Both can't really find anything too fatal, but the recovery finally does come through for Cronus. And that's going to be a stock for the blue team, evening up the stocks once again. Much closer game, I feel like. I'm not sure when the big stock lead took place last game, but it feels like it happened right about now, so we'll see if they can replicate that.
Bunny did a great job of like taking out Undyne, and then you saw, or maybe I can't remember who got the first stock, but like we also saw Faith survive for a really long time, and even Cronus survive for a really long time, and that's just not the case here. Nam has completely woken up, destroyed Cronus, and now we'll see what he's got against Bunny. Does have the weapon advantage here, of course, has a ton of strength coming in with the Zol. That can do a decent job of competing with the damage. Oh, all right, Bunny setting it up. There's the down air, the bounce off the wall. Bunny has so much swagger in the way that she plays. Earlier, we also saw like an axe toss off the wall that almost made a connection, but it forced the opponent over to the left side to get away from it, and ultimately that move that they had to make meant that they ended up falling into the blast zone and losing their stock. So I love those bounce passes off the wall, whether it's to Bunny directly or whether it's to like bounce off the wall and then put a hitbox out deep in the push-up column. So I'm loving the way Bunny is playing, especially opening up on this second stock here. But here's Undyne.
Big juggle. The N-Sig comes through and actually does connect and able to get the weapon toss follow-up as well.
Wow.
Bunny losing the stock and the first one to be eliminated from this game. Now Undyne has an opportunity to pull away. They were able to take the first stock and do relatively good damage in this game, so looking to do that and take that MVP column. But Faith on the nets, that was a crazy clash. The downlight into the Sair comes through. Faith with a big juggle. Undyne tries to find some comfort on the stage, but really can't find anything more than a second on the stage. Faith looking for an edge guard here. Undyne barely able to avoid, but not avoid the down Sig, and Faith able to close out that stock and even up the stock once again. A much closer game than the last. This is so neck and neck for both teams here, back down to their 2 stocks apiece.
Yeah, we've seen Red Team do a great job of adapting, not even like just on the legend swaps coming out. Of course, the Diana's doing a great job so far. You talking about all of those signatures that came out earlier, they were doing a great job of setting up some stock confirms over on the edge. See if Faith can get in. There's a Sidelight, but he's taking a lot of damage here against these blasters.
Creating so much of that space, and when you have that range advantage, you don't have to play in that downlight range or even in a range where they're able to get, but when you force yourself in the corner sometimes, that's exactly the perfect downlight range. Faith with a big edge guard opportunity, gets the gravity cancel, downlight goes for the down Sig immediately to catch the jump, can find the connection, and now Clips back on the stage, but with no weapon, finds a bow. This bow was able to close out the first stock on Faith. The gravity cancel Sig on Diana connects.
That's the dodge.
Can you tap it in? Yes, you can. Gravity cancel downlight into the ground pound on unarmed, and now that's a slight stock lead here. We'll see if it's going to the last stock or if Clips can close this one out.
I love the way that Cronus, or I'm sorry, not Cronus, Faith was using the hammer neutral signature earlier, because like it pops you up and it swings in the front and then down below you, so it can even hit a grounded opponent. If someone's like recovering high, or you think they're going to recover high, you can throw out that neutral signature, and even if they recover low right over the corner, you can still find a connection there. So that neutral signature is such a great option. I know I'm like highlighting just basic things about Nash, but it's because we don't see a lot of Nash, so I like to see the way that Faith is playing Nash so far. Things that are very inherent to that legend, not just he's playing hammer, here's a D-Light Sair, he's playing spear, here's a D-Light recovery.
That's funny that you call out both of the downlight things, because that's so prevalent in the game plan. But yeah, as you said, Nash not so seen, so the Sigs are the big difference maker there for the weapon. As Nam on the cannon here has a lot of damage on the side of Zol, but Cronus actually taking the damage lead here so far. Can they find the KO? Not quite with the recovery. Goes for another Qatar pickup into an immediate attempt at a stock, and Nam gets a reversal off of it. Now the damage being much more even. Another Sig whiffing for Cronus. Downlight, no confirm. As Nam is playing so elusive and avoiding the axe, playing in that stacking on top of Cronus, but the neutral light comes through, and that's going to be the stock and the game for the blue team.
If it wasn't for that neutral light, Nam was doing such a good job of like bringing everything back. but it just wasn't enough because there was so much damage already built onto him that an Axe Neutral Light from the middle of the stage didn't even have to be like a KO move pickup in an advantageous situation. It was an Axe Inlight from the middle of the stage, which an Axe player is eventually going to find if you give them enough time. You'll whiff a move and they'll be in the perfect spot to either Inlight or dash Inlight. So that was just really tough because Nam was making the comeback and doing a great job, even at the weapon disadvantage, playing unarmed Zol. Nobody's like, yeah, dude, Zol is an unarmed nightmare. You got to worry about like he can get in and get out with a high movement speed. Like, no, that's not reality. So the fact that Nam was doing a great job of fighting back showed that Cronus was worried about that comeback and giving Nam a lot of room to find entry, find exits, and still remain safe.